40. The best advice from the world's historically most powerful peacemaker, Bertrand Russell, who did achieve a ban on open-air nuclear bomb tests, was, remember your humanity and forget the rest. He made a start with both education and law. No one but you and I will finish the job. Get me and yourself out if you want to live. A taciturn old New Englander once said, there ought to be a law. Everyone that I've ever talked to suggested only, never mind, or pretty please. How nice. Except that through all of history, apathy and impotent appeals never stopped 1% of the slaughter. I've just described the superpower conspiracy to reduce the United Nations to instead top military dog anarchy, with an international court of justice denied, and an in-security council of worst killer raging murder. Most of my speeches are courtroom lawsuit argument to prove our case for old and new peace law enforcement. Didn't your parents teach love and enforce it too? You all must become the parents to out-of-control politician brats. To save the world and your family, remember to make family love also government law. Now, tomorrow is too late. In the face of utter human destruction, most power nation politicians and weaponeer-enabling strategic advisors' focus is jacking the weapons to drive our side to victory. As civilian attack remains every combatant's strategy, then relief to suffering innocents would only obstruct the grand victory cause. Any good look at war's full history teaches that war was designed from the beginning to become the devilish opposite, the end of human care, until full human extermination will be completed. Clearly, then, peace taught to human minds and hearts, then enforced by removal of every war power, must happen in the 2020s to grow back human care even faster than it's being destroyed. I can only think of one achievement of war. It wrote my book. If American independence and good life was won with muskets, now we throw it away with machine guns and bombs. So let's get rid of every war always forced upon the world before they will get rid of us. I describe our upcoming legal political war for peace. Human self-defense is well programmed into individuals, but far more thought and organized public action must oppose terrible technological, financial, military, political, and environmentally destructive assaults against all humanity. We must now conduct that combat together, in the same hurry that our lives are being doomed. Without disarmament, international nor any other kind of human justice exists, and humanity ends lightning fast. Today, the UN International Court of Justice returned its verdict on South Africa's suit to make Israel's savage bombing and equally deliberate starving of Palestinian civilians stop. The ICJ so ruled in detail. Israel shall conduct no more military action that harms or risks harm to non-combatants, and allow or necessarily provide 100% of food, water, power, fuel, medical aid and supplies, and reconstruction. Every survival and recovery essential need exploded by the 100% aggressor, since the horrific Hamas slaughter of 1,200 Jewish civilians and kidnapping of 250 more triggered this 6-month American 2,000-pound residential bomb fest. This recovery mercy order would seem ideally opportune, since days before, when the U.S. finally merely abstained from, did not veto, as it did through the war until now, a Security Council order for a ceasefire and maximal aid to 2.3 million siege-starving. The otherwise unanimous Security Council decision could be enforced against an unwilling aggressor or defender only with entry of a powerful peacekeeping army that any American war government would veto 100 times for 100 years. Any UN International Court of Justice ruling also has this single enforcement mechanism of an international peace army ordered by 9 Security Council yes votes, without any of the 5 permanent members' no veto. China, France, Russia, England, and the U.S. may all abstain. 9 yeses from the 15 members pass the resolution, always binding upon all UN members according to UN Article 25. Today, the U.S. termed the ceasefire resolution it allowed passage of as non-binding, false, non-cooperative, illegal, and intentional misstatement, i.e., lying. Not the nation to allow subsequent enforcement votes for a peace army to protect and feed civilians after any ceasefire. Let's begin and follow the silly story of the United Nations from its inception. Clear on my point. Disarmament, which is give me liberty from or death by effing weapons. My apologies to Patrick Henry. You'll recall my history of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty that ordered world disarmament with massive insincerity and zero scheduling or enforcement. Today's single mighty nation's sabotage of Mideast war ceasefire, desired by 153 of 186 General Assembly nations and 14 of 15 Security Council nations, was no less than the 100th hammer down of single superpower world dictatorship, or top dog anarchy, not any United Nations ever begun. Give the UN credit for 12 peacekeeping operations, saving up to a few 100,000 lives since World War II. While American, Russian, or Chinese Security Council vetoes against giant world nations' ceasefire majorities ensured free reign of 500 sides of 250 wars to kill 30 million, supplied up to 80% by the U.S. and Russia last century, and 60% through the 2100s, adding in China's 5%. You'll notice that the peacekeeping wishes always expressed by the world's vast majority mirror every spit-upon treaty and international law, shockingly similar to peace law imperatives I shriek about for agonizing hours. While 49 wars roar us 90 seconds from doomsday midnight. I have described World Treaty full disarmament tenets, full civilian protection international laws, and most nations' Constitution-awarded war or peace choice to people's Congress representatives and their framers' requirement of best national defense. all 1,000% opposite of world-scorching attack armies, forcing equal counterattack with zero possible defense from. Your family's democracy and peace law has been made government law. So was I wrong to scratch our public failure to expand family love everywhere on that rock to be read 2 billion years later? I should have carved, "We made but did not enforce it," and noted that all peace law is pie in the sky amid bribery for weapons to the moon. It turns out that every peace law actually in the books is either less than specifically enforced framers' orders or PR from politicians afraid of losing elections while savaging our lives with 3 world and 250 merely continental wars. Peace law, ha, ha. Governments bribed to buy weapons must use them, and us up to buy more. They laugh. Obey peace law? Refuse more profits from more weapons? Make us powerless punks? Bingo! We do have the power to make you punks. Now watch us use it. You must recognize this world-saving insight and power. Word for action straight from the perps. Take profits away that no businessman ever refuses by ending politician bribery to buy war. And citizens force disarmament with actual help of uncorrupted new leaders with court action, world education, and political peace and survival power. We'll make you, only punks with Holocaust power, become loving humans without Holocaust power, with rescue power and drive to finally infect even you potential beauties. The UN's relief agency and many others are poised to supply 2.3 million Gazans starving and also renew treatment of 100,000 injured severely without hardly any medical care to recover. 7,000 trucks full of food, water, fuel, and medical supplies are backed up behind Gaza's borders. 500 a day were needed to sustain pre-war Gaza, now so infrastructure wrecked that perhaps 700 trucks daily for the next year would get them critical food, water, power, and medical supplies. Israel lets in less than 200 through the only 2 border crossings they have not totally closed. So most wounded get no pain medicine, antibiotics, surgical reconstruction technology, or even anesthetic, only mental confusion drugs while they scream in pain under the knife. The 1,800 daily food calories needed for survival and weight maintenance are permanently slashed to 600. Except that metabolic needs skyrocket for most forced to walk morning to night in search of rotted garbage or patches of grass to eat and filthy sewer water to drink. The faster all die, Israeli leaders plan. The sooner we can plumb every tunnel for Hamas fighters too weak to pull machine gun triggers and hostages as dead as we intend. I work to set aside my anger at victory strategy. 10,000 years weapon piling always ensured siege war on civilians. Why should winners sacrifice our soldiers when we can starve giant cities into submission? Finally, the American Congress put its mighty, lawful, humane foot down. We'll keep sending thousands of bombs to blow Palestinian civilian multitudes to bits, or just hideously wound them, but we condition our total war on requiring all possible aid to the victims. As if that would ever make them whole, or even alive again. Israel or no other nation gets our murder material without steady obedience of our mercy law and condition. For the 6-month, 40,000 slaughtered, aid dregs only war, journalists have never stopped asking executive and Congress when they plan to obey their own law. Every answer is some version of, bombs gotta keep falling, crocodile tears about food and all aid cut off, and what law? Or, we lied, get over it. Speaking of lying, that's warrior's first law. The truth, murder and abuse for profit and power, voters won't stomach. So no power of any elected leader is kept without propaganda for our invasion's glorious nobility. Just don't believe the evil in front of your lying eyes. Principal attacker and distant proxy warrior's massive kill power both cannot help bestial behavior with bestial arsenals. We birth genocidal weapons that must kill everyone, stupid parents too. This the glaring inhuman exception to babies nurtured grow to perpetuate and nurture civilization. And my peace law campaign? Call me a baby weapon abortionist. Let's connect massive alliances with world wars, all three. Trust me, the third and fatal one is upon us. Divide the world into 2 armed camps, each pledging world war upon a single soldier's death caused by any one of the bad guys' half-world club. Pretty much the handful of top war industry and superpower government bosses decide when certain world conflagration begins and roars.